Hello, beautiful people. So, as promised, it's pretty much the end of the day, and it's time to get out of the office and away from the computer. So, I'm walking with Nick and Sam, my two loyal companions. Well, not so loyal because they like to run away a lot, and when I call them, they don't come back. But anyway, they're really cool friends and good dogs. Well, um, today I would like to share with you a couple of ideas. Maybe they will help you on your own path and towards the best version of yourself, like always. So, what I want to share with you, it's based on something I've been following up quite closely, I would say, and trying to make sense of what does it mean in our world, in our lives, and more specifically in my own life. So, as you know, we've been in a very challenging situation since February, March this year. And one of the things that strike me the most, probably not only me, is the fact that um, we saw a lot of rules and decisions being done mainly by governments and politicians being imposed, I would say, in most of the cases on everyone's lives, and the impact is tremendous. I mean, everywhere you look, you can really see that the side effects of all these decisions have been really heavy. But what really confused me all the time was the fact that, and maybe because I'm a teacher, I'm a researcher, I do believe in science. I mean, I really do believe in science. And what really struck me is the fact that I was following up different professionals, mainly doctors and scientists, public health scientists, and I could really not grasp, some kind of consistent approach towards the challenge we are all living. And for me, that was very disturbing, because obviously, if you go to a doctor, you can always aim for a second opinion. But honestly, if you have if you have a health problem and you consult 3 or 4 specialists, I'm almost sure that you will get very close to a common vision and maybe a couple of different approaches. But this situation was with the COVID-19 pandemic. It's quite different, because as I told you, I was following some of the I would say most preeminent professionals in the market, and basically there was not really one single or common approach. I mean, actually, what I saw was pretty disturbing, because most of these people were accusing each other in social media, and really making you doubt about obviously ethical and moral reasons for doing so. And it has been around for many months, and I think that has contributed tremendously for many of the problems that we are seeing right now. I mean, there are plenty of mental health issues. Companies and people working inside organizations are really struggling, because, as we usually say, the goalpost has been moving constantly into a different direction and moving forward. So that doesn't really help, because, as you know, if people more or less know what they can expect, even if it's bleak and dark and challenging, but we know. So I mean, I think that one thing that humanity somehow tasted during these months is the fact that, you know, we are aware that nothing is guaranteed, and if we need to buckle up and go for a wild ride, well, we can even do it with 8 billion people. So that's actually a good side of it. But the other side is definitely the fact that there was very little room for discussion. Obviously, you could sense that there was some kind of a mainstream narrative being presented, and the contradictory, so the different opinion, had very little room, which in situations where the decisions have such a big impact in our lives seems to be, to say the least, up for discussion, because in the end of the day, most of the countries around the planet are still run by politicians that were voted by the people, so democracies, and it's quite questionable if in the name of a sort of speak public health or public good, you can actually do whatever you want. It seems that it's at least questionable. And to make the long story short, I want to tell you that just this last weekend, so a few days ago, there was a very interesting meeting of 3 of these, let's say, most distinguished epidemiologists and public health specialists in Barrington. I think that's the name of the little village in North America, in USA. And they come together with a declaration. Actually, I think that's exactly the name, the Barrington Declaration. You can search for it on internet. It's very interesting. And basically they suggest, as public health specialists, a different approach to allow us as humankind to go back to life, because you know, quite often people talk about the new normal. Honestly, I have very many doubts to apply such word. I mean, it's not normal at all. So it's very interesting, because in just, I think, 2 or 3 days, we managed to see probably close to 6,000 or 7,000 scientists and probably close to 10,000 doctors. So this is something very fresh. It's only 2-3 days old, and more than 120,000 people signing that declaration. And obviously, I think that the most important thing is that you use your mind, so not trying to take sides here. Actually, I take my own side and I use my own judgment. But it's very interesting to see that, and actually that's exactly what came across my mind. If, imagine, 10,000 doctors would advise you to do something, would you do it? It's kind of an interesting thought, huh? And then we can go further, right? Because I think these numbers will grow exponentially in the coming days and weeks. So, what is my takeaway? I mean, we are really living years of extremely polarizing communication. I mean, we see this in US elections, we see this pretty much all over Europe and in other parts of the world. I mean, it seems that everything is black and white. You are either with me or against me. And my take is that how really important that the contradictory, the different opinion as a space. And we actually learn, or relearn, because I think we were good at it, we just kind of forgot about to do it. We learn how to accommodate the different opinion from others in our life, in our process. So I think this applies obviously to epidemics and in the world scene, but it also applies to, you know, families and companies. How difficult it has become to agree to disagree in a way that actually we manage to listen the other side, and we learn from it. we are so entrenched in our own opinions, and I don't think it's a good thing. So there is another option. Yesterday we had a corporate program. It's a very short but very interesting program we do for companies. It's called A Day with Your Team, and basically during one day we take a full team on a walking mentorship experience, and they go through different exercises that help them to question actually the biggest challenges and potential solutions for their organizations. And yesterday I was delighted to see that in this team that we worked, one of the persons actually had an incredible courage to, in front of the whole team, pretty much towards the end of the program, to share her thoughts. And I found it so inspiring because obviously this is a very mature team, so they look at different opinions not necessarily as a personal attack, but as a provocation to push forward, actually to become better. And I was very positive in the end, because I really understood that this organization will probably use this opportunity to go deeper on these different opinions and try to find, different angles, different perspectives, and probably different benefits from thinking differently. And maybe that's my takeaway. I started with the COVID, and I end up with an example from a program that we did just yesterday, and maybe as probably a kind of a footnote to suggest that maybe in the coming days, when it's kind of easy actually to be in that situation, in the coming days when you'll be talking with someone that thinks very, very differently from you, not necessarily on social media, because social media is really tricky. The communication is kind of a one-way route, because we really miss this human contact. But maybe in a face-to-face interaction with someone that thinks quite differently from you, maybe you have an opportunity to test this approach. Genuinely listen to the other person, maybe invite the other person to genuinely listen to you, and not being necessarily in a position that one needs to be right and the other needs to be wrong, which is kind of interesting, huh? It's kind of a different thing that we are seeing these days. Someone needs to win, meaning that someone else needs to lose. Anyway, I think it's just a suggestion that maybe you want to consider, and then you let me know how things go. And don't forget, if you would like to have, any curiosity, any question, throw it to me, and I'll try to answer in the next call, which I hope it happens again more regularly, because next programs will come up just in the end of the month of October. It's great to be back in the vineyards, and great to be back talking to you. So keep walking with me.